Good evening, everybody. We're a minute late, so we're going to get started. It is now 6:31, Ms. Yummy. And we're going to go ahead and begin with the flag salute. And our NJROTC is going to present for us. Forward, forward, march. Colors, full, left, face, post, colors. Colors, post. Present, arms. Ready, two, left, face, forward, march. Present, arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Right, face. Forward, march. Colors, hold. Thank you very much. I forgot to ask Eric if we were ready to begin. Thanks, Eric. Oh, it's ready to begin. Okay, thank you very much. All right, Ms. Hammond, please note that all board members are here. All right, 2.0, agenda additions, deletions, or revisions, and agenda approval.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda. Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, we're gonna do roll call voting and we'll begin with Kelsey. Yes. Scott,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and I as well, yes. Thank you. 3.0 recognition, 3.1 students, staff, and community members, Miss Dr. Hall.
I am gonna start off with some awesome students. So we, as you've seen, we run one of the best NJROTC programs in the state. These students not only come and do an amazing job presenting our flags, but they are also instrumental in a number of community events, volunteering hundreds of hours of service. So you can march if you'd like, but I'd like to bring up our NJRT students and just recognize them for all they do for our school as well as our community. Come on up, guys. If you guys could share your name, your favorite class, and what you plan to do after high school.
I'll start. My name is Clayton Brando. I am senior chief's son. My favorite class that I've had throughout high school would be Mr. Berg's construction class. It was a fun class. I blew through it because construction's my gig. And when I graduate high school, I plan on going into the military and serving for a couple of years there afterwards. Who knows?
That's awesome. Thank you.
Plan.
I'm Natalie Cervantes. My favorite class is ROTC. And I'm planning on being a pilot when the Air Force. My name's Julia Biddick. My favorite class was marksmanship. And I plan on joining the Army after high school. So.
My name is Dylan Hagedorn. My favorite class here was math, and after high school, I plan on joining the Navy.
My name is Maria Castillo. My favorite class is ROTC and I plan on being a pilot in the Air Force.
Cool. Hey, let's give them a round of applause. Or do we have any questions for our students?
Do you have an estimate, and this is, may or may not have it, how many hours of service you put in?
That would be a senior chief question. I just think, personally, I know I'm approaching 200 for myself,
For the school year or for?
just for these past 2 years.
The rest of your.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's very easy to lose track of it.
You might have an answer for us.
Yes, so far this year, the whole entire ROTC program has put in a little over 1,400 hours.
Very nice. Half that employee.
Yes,
Reported.
your community appreciates it.
Yes, thank you. for all
So
you
a horrible tradition you have is we have to take your picture with this plaque, so. Rich is. Let's stand, I'll come to you guys, so let's have, I don't know if I say at ease or, you wanna hold this in the middle and we'll get a picture here real quick.
Right. 1, 2, 3.
All right, let's
Happy.
give them another round of applause.
Breathe. Breathe. All families. Thank you, chief.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I'm gonna turn it over to Carrie Lowenbach. She's filling in for Crooked River to present a recognition.
Hi, I am filling in for Mrs. Kimberly Bonner tonight, who is not here, and I've got two groups to present to you and do thanks. But face you guys. You're doing great. Okay, the first group I'm gonna thank are the kids. On behalf of Mrs. Kurtz and Mrs. Bonner, Mrs. Kurtz wrote up something, and I'll have those kiddos come up who are here, but let me read to you what Mrs. Kurtz wrote. She's also not here tonight. She said, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude for these high schoolers' commitment to mentoring K2 students in reading and math during first period at Crooked River Elementary. Their dedication to giving back to our community with their time and attention is invaluable. The Elementary Academic Mentor Program is designed to empower hardworking and respectful high schoolers as future teacher leaders and has evolved into a blessing for everyone involved. Excitingly, next year, high school leaders will be able to earn college credit through COCC with Ed 101 for their involvement in the program. These future teacher student leaders are making a significant positive impact academically and relationally on the young learners they serve, and I am incredibly proud of how they represent CCHS and CCSD as a whole. Thank you to the administrators who have supported the development of this program, Jill Hoff, Amber McLeod at the DO, Jake Huffman and Bree Van Rokel at CCHS, and a huge shout out to CRE admin Kimberly Bonner and John Lindsay. I want to give my absolute gratitude to Sarah Schinkel as well and the team of teachers who have opened their classrooms to make this opportunity possible for all. Great work, VRCC. So we have a couple in the back. I'm going to say everybody's names, and if I say your name, come on up. And as Mr. Hoff, Dr. Hoff mentioned, we have a really great tradition of taking a picture with the plaque. Taven Deck, saw you. Taven. Layla, I didn't see Layla come in. She's maybe out at tennis still. Faith Johnson. Okay, Wei Kudlak, saw you. Hudson Kudlak, I saw you in there. Riley Kurtz, saw Riley come in. No, but we'll give Riley a round of applause. Max Lefevre, who I did not see come in at all. Just everybody down at volleyball. And then Ruby Snyder. Okay, so thank you guys. I haven't been at Crooked River long, but I know that every time I am in there and I see you guys, the kids are so excited to see them. And they just bring a fun light into the school when they walk in. Plus, they walk in, they know their jobs, they go right to work. So we love that about this. So I don't know that I need to be in this picture.
I think he's gonna say pictures.
He's gonna try.
Yeah.
It's very
It's a tradition.
Tradition.
David,
Have to
stand
do
to
it.
your side of you.
All right. I guess 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
So,
Nice.
our next recognition, if you were here an hour ago, you got just a taste of the amazing trades programs
Hold
that
on.
we have here. Oh,
I have the fun readers.
you're just gonna have to wait. That was an apple.
Okay, our theme is kind of literacy and reading tonight and reading support. So not only did we have high schoolers who come in and support our kids at Crooked River with their reading and math skills, but we also have a group of fun readers who are not in high school. Well, I don't think they're in high school anymore. But I have a little thing that Mrs. Bonner emailed me. And so do we have any of our fun readers? I didn't have a chance to meet anybody. Oh, I was hoping. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna read this from Mrs. Bonner, to you all, and then again, we'll come up and we'll get our pictures taken. Mr. Hopkins. Crooked River Elementary would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our fun reading volunteers. Why are they called fun readers? Not only is this program fun for all involved, learning to read is fundamental to success in school and beyond. These adult readers come in weekly to read with our kindergarten students or to have our kindergarten students read to them as they have grown throughout the year. Many volunteers have built strong connections reading with the same students through the entire year. We have recently had several new volunteers join our program and we are grateful. Many of our new readers have come to us through our veteran volunteers talking about how rewarding it is to work with students. I am not sure who benefits more, the adult mentors or the students. Either way, it's a win. We cannot wait to see what next year brings. Thank you again for your time and dedication to the students of Foote County. They love it. So thank you for our time.
You gotta, hey,
You-
it's tradition. You gotta-
Hey.
Can't break tradition.
Hey.
All right. Just the two of us. There were about 20 volunteers.
Yes, I was gonna say, I have a list of about 15 that while you're taking the picture, I will go ahead and read the names of all the volunteers and we can. So Becky Creechbaum, Richard Viagran, Lynn Hodecker, Vicky Sumner, Sharon McCullough, Kathy Goldsmith, Vicky Galloway, Ruth Stone Street, Gary Parn, Paula Luz, Jen Seneca, and Linda Dunn are but just a few of our volunteers. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Really.
Awesome.
And I have to say
Yeah,
that
please
working
do.
with kindergartners takes a special person, which a kindergarten teacher told me. I taught second grade at Crooked River Elementary for 31 years.
Yeah.
Now I have to say, and I have to complain, I hope you are putting this in the notes. Crooked River Elementary, the real one, which is down on Third Street.
Yeah.
The one over here is the fake one. And then they changed the name of the mascot. So I don't know who on the school board had anything to do with that. Scott? I worked with Scott's mom at Crooked River Elementary, the real one.
We'll take care of it. Thank you for all your. hard
You
work.
can't move the name back.
Okay, let's give them a round of applause. All right, we've got, Ms. Wallenbach, that's it for recognitions?
For her. Maybe.
So, if you were able to join us early, we did a, community open house for all our trades program. And we could not be more proud of the trades education that we offer kids here, or kind of students here at Crook County High School. We had a career fair just a couple of weeks ago. We had 66 different employers speaking to students, talking about different job options. So we're really trying to equip students to be successful once they leave our doors. So, and we could not do that without Mr. Ryan Cochran, and we have our team of CT teachers. If you guys could come up real quick. We can clap for them as well. We'll do a quick picture and then answer a couple questions. All right.
That's a great pick. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Awesome.
I should have stood in the chair.
Hey, before you guys take off, if you could tell the board, who you are, what you teach, and how long you've been doing it for.
What your favorite classes?
And what your favorite class is. And we've got some award winners here. They might say what awards they've won.
I'm Ron Berg. I teach the construction program. and I've been doing it for 35 years.
And he didn't say this, but he is the Oregon CTE Teacher of the Year. So let's.
I'm Lacey Agassi, I'm the culinary instructor at Cook County High School. I've been here for 14 years.
Jason Mama, I'm robotics and computer science, and I've been doing it for 5 years here at Cook County High School.
I'm Sam Schmitz and I teach health science and 7 months. First year.
I'm Ryan Cochran, CTE Director here for Cook County High School. I will add that Macy is a state champion in culinary pro start competition,
Absolutely.
so round of applause for that. We also just got back from nationals in Baltimore, and they placed 21st in the country, so in the top half. So congratulations to them.
For just have so many things to celebrate. For our next recognition, I'm gonna have Jason Cheney from the Central Oregonian come up and present an award to one of our teachers, Nathaniel Dunaway. So Jason, is it Nathaniel? Yeah, thanks, you guys are gonna sit here.
Hey, good to see you. Yeah. So explain it first or hand it.
Yeah, one of the award that you won, the amazing educator.
Okay, so every year these former Pamplin papers, not sure what you call that group of papers these days, but we have a company-wide publication called Amazing Educators, and basically each of our newspapers are asked to find an educator within their community that kind of stands out for, and it could be for a variety of different reasons. Macy Hagensey, who was just here, he was somebody we recognized in the past. I think one year it was the principal for the Pioneer Alternative School because of the turnaround and graduation rates and things like that. So it's really kind of all over the board. And so, this year, as we tried to figure out who we should highlight, Nathaniel came up just because he's got, he's kind of going above and beyond what, is just being done in the classroom or even on the stage. There's a haunted house down at the, for Halloween down at the park. There was the one man, or what was that called?
Christmas Carol.
Yeah, the Christmas Carol one man, which I think when we were talking is kind of in a way to not only scratch his own personal theater itch, but also to promote his own, theater program. And so, and the list goes on and on. He's dutifully will send out a news release every time there's going to be a new play so that I can get it into the paper so that the community is aware of it and there's a nice big turnout. And so, it's community oriented besides just, educator. And that was kind of one of the things that stands out. And as it turns out, he's in the paper a lot because of that. So it makes it easy to figure these sort of things out. But yeah, it was actually my colleague over at the Madras Pioneer who suggested him. So if that tells you anything, his fame is beyond Crook County borders already. So anyway, I don't know. Did I just?
Well, we know we have to take a picture.
Right. So here you go. Hey, thank you.
Let's give it up for Nathaniel.
Take a picture.
Since you're here.
Yes.
For our audience and our TV audience there, you could talk a little bit about your big project, your fundraising campaign and how close you are, giving you an opportunity to pitch you.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So yeah, last year, I and a fellow teacher, Rebecca Picard, we revived the Oregon Shakespeare Festival trip for high school students, which was began many years ago by Walt Bolton and was something that I was able to do in high school and had a big impact on me. And I wanted to bring that back for students. That hadn't happened since 2015 or 2016, I believe.
So we had a great year of fundraising to make that happen, made that happen to see 2 shows last May. And then we've been doing the same thing this year. Lots of fundraisers, lots of opportunities for students to fundraise, and to sell candles and all sorts of things like that to help pitch in. And what's new this year with that project is a campaign that we're doing called Take a Seat, which is we have sort of these reward tiers for amount of money donated to this purpose, where you can buy a plaque for an armrest in the auditorium, or also, you know, slides in front of shows. We're gonna get a perpetual plaque for the foyer of the auditorium that has like donors of over $300 on there. And we created a bank account for that and a QR code for it, and money has thankfully been coming in, and we're very, very appreciative of that. People want to show their support for the arts, and a lot of times they don't know how to express that, you know, and so I want to show them how they can express that. And so yeah, we're I think at this point we're on track to get the amount, not only the amount that we need this year to go even bigger than last year and see 3 shows at OSF instead of just 2, but also to have some money left over for, you know, when we start again next year to do it again. The whole purpose of this is so that students can see professional theater. When we went to OSF last year, most of the kids who went, that was their first time seeing a professional play. And it's something that I want available to all students. I don't want there to be I don't want it to be prohibitive to them, so it costs nothing to the students themselves because of the amount of fundraising that we did and that we continue to do. And yeah, I appreciate the recognition from Kiva and from Jason. I just really love theater, and I appreciate that for the past 4 years, I've been able to channel that love into this job and to share that love with students. Because I would be doing this no matter what job I was in. I would be finding some way to do theater, but the job that I have allows me to do it and share it with students in probably the most rewarding way I can imagine. So
Daniel, when is the trip?
it is May 30th and 31st.
Yet,
We haven't yet. No, I would need to talk with Colette about where we're at, how short we are on that. Transportation is always kind of like a big hurdle. I know that this year we're going to be taking like a number of smaller buses instead of one large bus to try and just make that work out. So but I believe that what's left is the cost of transportation, mileage and paying for drivers and things like that. So tickets are taken care of, hotel is taken care of. So yeah, we're in good shape. But
Let's get it go. How many students?
we're taking 32 students. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went to high school.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's a great time. Yeah.
Is there where could somebody, if they wanted to, find your QR code or more about it to donate?
So currently it isn't yet on social media. It has only been shared through like in-district, like emails and things like that. It started as an in-district campaign reaching out to people within the school district, but this week we are going like entirely public with that donation link, the QR code specifically to donate for this cause. But this past weekend, we had the performance of Little Shop of Horrors, and we had donations. We were taking donations at the ticket counter for that and got a few $100s there as well. So, yeah.
Of course, it's also worth remembering that you did send the whole board an email about a month ago inviting us to give. So if you type Nathaniel Dunaway into the search bar.
I'm in there. Yeah.
Way to give, right?
It's true.
It's so easy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have forwarded to
Thank you, appreciate it,
And
appreciate it.
another way you could do it, which your Christmas Carol show was awesome.
Thank
I
you.
did see that.
Good,
Should
thank you.
advertise there too.
Yes,
'Cause that's-
absolutely.
That,
Yeah.
amazing. And there were quite a few people there, I know.
There were, that was something where I was not anticipating the turnout or the popularity.
The voice thing too.
Oh,
The
thank you.
voice.
Yeah, but I will be doing that again and intend to make that an annual tradition and yeah. Like I said, I just love this stuff, so this is very nice. I appreciate this.
Okay, let's give him a round of applause.
Picture.
Photo time.
That's what I bought that for.
Just hang on.
You're in the photo.
I know.
Picture.
It's not how it normally.
I'm tired of my picture.
All right. All right, 1, 2, 3. Good. Awesome, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We have one more community group we want to recognize. We have our Prineville Music Theater Boosters here. Come on up. And while they're coming up, one of the things I wanted to highlight tonight, was just showing that it's so important for me and for the staff that every student in Crook County has a place, whether it's in JRTC, whether it's the trades, whether it's the theater, whether it's music. We want every student to have a place where they belong, are connected, have friends, and are doing something productive. So it's so cool that the high school staff, the district overall has been able to fund these types of programs that give people, students places to belong. With that,
Okay,
we have the Prineville Music and Theater Boosters. If you could say your name and how long you've been a part of the Prineville Music Theater Boosters.
oh, how long? Okay, first off, we didn't know we were gonna be talking. No. We didn't know we were gonna be getting our picture taken. We are really shooting from the hip here. So the Prineville Music and Theater Boosters, I believe, started back like in the 1970s. With Marv Cochran and Gene Southwell and some of the names that that you've heard throughout the community. I got involved with the Music Boosters when my kids started high school, and so that would be about hang on, 16, 17 years ago. And about that time, Marv Cochran, he decided to disband the boy choir. And they had a great fundraiser that they did, which is the Prineville Follies. And they came to us and asked us if we would take that over and be able to use that for our scholarships. And so we have been the ones that have put on the Prineville Follies for the last, again, I think 14 years now. And with that, we raise funds for our scholarships. So we provide 4 scholarships of at least $1,000 a piece in each of the performing arts areas. So band, choir, drama. And then also we have one in Marv Cochran's name for the Follies. So if it was somebody that was just involved with the Follies, or that can also extend out to maybe homeschool students that, that have performed in the Follies. But all of them are based around their time and their what they've given to our community already in the performing arts. And so, we've been really excited that we've been able to have that and been able to keep on the tradition of the Follies as well, which I think we were at 47 this year. So it's been a big Prineville tradition. I think I was supposed to say my name, huh? My name is Renee Moss. I'm the current president, and I'm Brittany Glenn. I'm the secretary, and we are both directors for the stage, for the Follies as well. So that's our main fundraising goal, but we're also here to support the performing arts, in other ways, just however we can do that. One of the things that we've been happy and we love Nathaniel, who is now left, but because we love it when the teachers will come to us, and he's been really good about coming to us with needs that, you know, are above and beyond what, you know, his budgets are. And so if we have extra money, when we do the slide campaign and all that stuff, the live auctions, if you've been to the Follies, you know, we're raising money for these events that they're trying to take the students to. So we've been able to give to this last couple of years for his trips to the Shakespearean Festival, and we'll continue to do so. I mean, that's what we're here for. But I love what you've said about, you know, having every student have a place. My students were involved in music, and I had one that didn't fit in any of the molds, but he understood music in a very phenomenal way, and it helped him in all the other areas of his life. And that's one of the things that music gives, is it reaches a different part of the brain, and you're able to make connections in ways that just the standard ways of teaching just don't do. And I think, and that's going to be the same with drama, with that the creativity, you know, part of that. So we just feel that that's really important. If you have anything you want to add? Nope. So thank you for recognizing us, because this is kind of awesome.
We're so great. I think of our fun readers, our music boosters. We need all hands on deck to make this a great school system. So we're so grateful for these, our community partners. What questions does the board have?
Not a question, but a statement, but going to those falls, it is amazing for the community the size it is, and how many talented people there are in this community. It's phenomenal.
It really is. You know, we hold open auditions, and every year we have a new group of people, you know. I mean, you'll see some that will have been in the Follies many years, but there's always new, and it's just amazing.
When is that?
What's that?
Usually in March.
Yes.
Usually.
Yeah, this year we had it like that first weekend of spring break, which is probably going to be the weekend that we'll be looking at for next year too.
Picture time?
Where are my scrubs?
This came from work too.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Sure. See Joel.
And 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Not good on the basketball.
Next time you're shaking.
Tonight, that is all the recognition.
That was pretty awesome. Thank you for bringing all of that to our attention. Much
Another night in Cook County.
Okay, 4.0, approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda and a second. We have any further discussion?
And one question real quickly. I noticed on the agenda that we have Nikki Dvorsky, who is resigning her position as a receptionist at the district, but then being rehired as a kindergarten teacher. Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Actually,
Because that was interesting.
I'm proud to say that I believe that's the third district office front secretary who has gotten their teaching license and moved on to teach in our schools. They're
Awesome.
So yeah, we're really proud of Nikki. She's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be, I believe, a kindergarten teacher at Crooked River. So yeah, so proud of her. And it's, I think what happens is, you know, community members come in and start working for the district and then realize what a fun and rewarding experience teaching can be, and jump in and get their teaching license. So we're excited. We're sad to see her go, but excited she's still on the team.
Congrats. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, we're gonna vote. Kelsey? Yes. Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Holiday?
Yes.
And here.
Yep.
And I as well, yes, thank you. Okay, turn the page. 5.0, finance. Sienna, you're up.
As usual, the financial report is in your packet, and I just have a couple of things I want to point out to you. If you look at the finance report, on page 3, you'll see there's a line number 5 that signifies state school fund May adjustment for 23-24. So we're in May now, and every year in May, ODE finalizes the prior year's state school time. And so as I was closing out the year 23-24, I had to estimate whether we would, after ODE did all of their adjustments and reconciling everything, whether we would be receiving money back or whether we would owe money back. Now they've told us that we owe about $680,000 back. That's the scary part. The cool part is I already planned for most of that last year and wrote about 550,000. So the net effect of that is 132,000, which is more than what I expected, but also when I looked at a $550,000 payable, our auditor asked me, I'm sure it's not high. So I had to really justify that. But yes, that you'll see that negative $132,000 in there as an adjustment that the net effect of those two. Any questions on that? Kind of a.
Appreciate your forethought.
Yes. So
It's devastating to have that.
it really just has to do with the fact that we have a lot of early graduates. And so if you can just kind of see the data and plan ahead and just assume all the numbers. And that's early graduates, you know, that's what's right for early graduates, that's what's right for us. The other thing I want to mention is last month, when we were in Brothers, I had mentioned that I would bring to you a resolution tonight to adjust the budget so that we could do transfers outside of what was originally planned. However, as I started looking at this, I realized we don't need to do that resolution. So if you're hoping to see that tonight, if you remember that I said that, we don't need to do that because the transfers that we'll do will be within from one 100 level fund to another 100 level fund. So that doesn't count against our budget appropriation. So we can still do the transfers we need to do without adjusting the budget a lot. So that was all I had to tell you on the finance report.
I have a question about those early graduates. So several years ago, we were beginning to notice that trend of more and more early graduates. We talked about the fact that if we could increase engagement with things like CTE and things like the arts and all the stuff we saw tonight, well, that more students might want to finish out the fourth year. So I never got any report back as to whether that was working. Has that trend been slowing?
I can answer that. We definitely, to the first part of your question, as you've seen, are increasing the dual credit opportunities, the AP opportunities, the CT opportunities. I think a lot of those factors might be economic as well, as students who have earned their credits will get a high paying, high demand job. So we can come back with some data on that to look at whether those trajectories the same. So I can follow up on numbers on that.
I think, well, I think it's something that, you know, number one, I was just blown away by the CTE program and want to join all of the classes. So big props to you guys on that. But I think it is worth looking at like other people who are graduating early, like how many of those have a clear path to like a career afterwards? And are we actually putting these people out into the world with those high paying jobs? Because I mean, those opportunities are out there. And so I think especially as summer comes and we might have a little bit more mind space to kind of look at that, I think it is worth evaluating that to make sure that if a student does stick around and leaves with a certificate or has a chance to actually enter a trade or whatever it is on a different foot that we're retaining.
I just think it's an important part of the budgeting equation, because if you are retaining students because of those robust programs, then you're also retaining the ADM that goes with those students, and you are offsetting the cost of those programs, so they end up paying for themselves. So then when you go to cut them out of the budget, you're shooting yourself. But you need to realize that that's what's happening. So it's important to be able to track that early graduation trend, I think, and know it.
I think so. And what's driving it?
Question.
Any other questions on the finance report?
I just continue to be amazed by your foresight.
Mm-hmm.
When you started talking, like I, in a moment.
That's a little bit for the shock value.
Yeah, your delivery was.
Nathaniel, one of your
I
actors
know,
got it.
right?
we move on to 5.2? Yes, please. Okay, student fees, every year, the board adopts the fees for the following year. So that's what this resolution is, about, and it, usually looks fairly similar from year to year, but then what I do is I mark up the, proposed changes, for the board to consider. So I'll just kind of walk through those things. There are a few items on here that we've proposed to, for a fee exception for students who are eligible for McKinney-Vento, which means that they're experiencing homelessness. And then there's a proposed addition for a fee that's the same dollar amount as an athletic fee, but it's for the boys volleyball or girls flag football, because those are clubs that are not funded by the district. So those fees that would be assessed would go into those sports funds. And then moving down to the sports participation fee, there's a regular fee and then a free reduced eligibility fee. There used to be language here. I just copied this from the old language about the family maximum. And I don't know why that family maximum language disappeared. I went back to try and find documentation and I couldn't find anything. And I'm wondering if maybe just there was a thought that once we reduce the fees, that it wouldn't be relevant anymore. But if you are a family that has a lot of students in your family playing sports, you theoretically, you could actually hit that $375 amount. So I'm just proposing, from, I believe it was Mr. Bonner's suggestion to bring that back, to just bring that language back.
That's a yearly fee.
It's a
$375
per
per year.
sport, the maximum is per year, yes. Yeah.
It goes back to $225 a student, $100 a student. That.
So on the club fees, you got play target fee, boys volleyball, girls flag, they also have rodeo club, are they not collecting anything?
So the rodeo club is not a district sponsored activity. They have their own entity with their own tax ID number and their own probably, if it's a not-for-profit, they would have their own board. So they're not, all they're really doing is using our mascot. Correct?
You wanted that because it's Tri-County. Rodeo's Tri-County. So it's not even, you even think of basketball, so there's like.
So is that the extent of our club sports there?
Uh,
Those three?
That can charge a fee for.
we have a, when I club sports. I believe so, because the. Oh, yeah, esports.
So esports is no charge?
They've not proposed.
Maybe we just kind of leave it up to the club to decide that you propose fees, propose you.
Yes, I don't try to make decisions for them. I allow them to. All the schools and. I go for bringing this to my attention. I honestly don't know if the students, I don't know. They would support that actually.
Madam Chairman, I move to adopt resolution 06-24-25 establishing fees for the 25-26 school.
I second it. Okay, we have a motion on the table to approve the resolution 6/2024-2025 and a second. Do we have further discussion? Okay, full vote. Chelsea? Yes. Mr. Cooper? Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And yes for myself as well. Thank you. Okay, superintendent updates. It looks like Dr. Hoff is going to now join us for 6.1.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not gonna take a picture after this agenda item, unless you'd like to. So, interesting agenda item. Leland and I were approached, say 2 weeks ago by a community member. Who's developing some land and had some questions, as you can see on the diagram in front of you. The district owns, this is Barnes Butte Elementary. The district owns this acreage right next to Barnes Butte Elementary. And this particular community member asked if we'd be interested if it was all through in-kind donations, if they developed that land into 2 baseball fields, as you can see here, as well as a potential flag football or soccer field. And then this pink portion would be a gravel parking lot. So it wouldn't essentially cost the district really much money. We would help with labor. There's already water out there. Leland actually explains it actually costs us money to take care of the weeds on that particular plot of land. So Anna has already looked at what sort of contract we could do with this person. Same thing we did with a group of community members that developed our second baseball field over by Crooked River. So we just wanted to bring this to the board for just kind of conceptual approval, and then Leland and I would work with the community member on pulling all the pieces together to get that rolling as soon as possible to get more field space. I even offered if to mow it on the weekends because I know how much field space is at a premium in this town. So just kind of conceptual approval from the board is what we're looking for tonight.
This is so exciting.
Does that include getting an estimate of what the long-term maintenance costs are?
Yes, Leland and I met with them and are kind of running that sort of stuff.
Should basically.
You're not looking to move, it's more to just do some studies more than anything. You're not moving forward with the project yet.
What we can do is, we're just looking for kind of conceptual approval to start working out those details, and then we can keep the board updated on if there is any board action.
But without breaking, correct.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and move to continue with the conceptual development of this plan.
I wholeheartedly second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to move forward with the conceptual development of this project, and we have a second. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Kelsey?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And yes as well. Tim. That's very exciting, Joel. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
And Leland.
Looking forward to seeing you out there mowing the lawn.
yeah.
I know, right?
It's one of those writing ones. I'm all for it.
You have to have a certificate, for that, right, Leland?
Are we going to ever learn the identity of the community member?
You know, it's actually gonna come tonight. It couldn't make it. It is Mason Stafford. They're developing the land up there. So we'll make sure to kind of bring him in as the plan develops to thank him. And I think he said was tired of driving his kids to Redmond for practice. So.
That too.
Okay,
We can help.
yeah.
So,
6.2. Mr. Huffman.
Hello,
Hello, sir.
just bringing you guys some updates for graduation. So we met at the brothers meeting and talked about the graduation timeline, so some updates for you. First, the one thing is that we weren't sure where the senior trip was gonna be. It's gonna be at Canida. So that's not listed on there, but we did get that secured. So senior trip's gonna be at Canida. Baccalaureate still Monday. Senior awards night still Tuesday. And then the senior breakfast, we looked into some different restaurants and different places. Of course, we know that Club Pioneer is not able to do it this year, so we're gonna do it in-house in the small gym, and board members, of course, are invited to attend for that breakfast. We're doing that. And then there's a visual, if you want to go to that next slide, next one. That one, there you go. So Scott, this is specifically to your point. The school board's going to be sitting on the right of the stage. You guys just have to decide who's handing out the diplomas. I know we have board members with graduates, so you guys can figure that out. But when you're not handing out the diplomas, you'll be sitting on the right. And of course, it's like that right to left. So the school board's on one side, the students receive their diploma, come down on the left for the community members. And that was something that was important. So we have that all visual for you. Any questions about that?
Did we get that visual built into the script? So that people understand what's happening there?
We can do that, like on the program, you mean?
The scope of the script. it's
Yeah.
Explaining that concept.
I can get that
In
done.
the school community, now you're welcome to the general.
I can work that in.
We
Yeah.
Had that at one point, then it disappeared.
Okay, I think I can work that in. And then the parade, we met with Prineville PD and the city of Prineville, and they urged us to not cross Third Street. So we're gonna respect those wishes. So the parade route is gonna be the same as it was last year, where we turn right by the middle school and come down. So it's a little bit of an abbreviated parade route, but I think will be less of a hassle for the rest of our community partners. So we're gonna keep that way. Any other questions about the graduation week?
One thing we might, just as the board won't be together to deliberate on this before then, do we want to have one representative come up to hand out diplomas? We've seen the board do just about every option possible.
I had a few graduates, but it's not family like this one, so. Okay.
We've had two, we've had all, we've had one.
You could do letters of the alphabet, making sure you're doing the H's. Whatever you like.
Need me to do them all, we'll do them all.
Last draw.
Do the H's, or the H's.
I would like to, but I can also just.
Do you guys want to be in it? I'm not here that week, so that's not.
I don't have kiddos involved, so I'm just.
I've got about 10 years. You just want to split it?
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll figure out how to.
People do the first half, we'll do the second half.
You just let us know and we'll make it work.
Perfect.
So, all right, thank you guys.
Right. And you're moving on 6.3.
Yeah. Good friend Bree Van Rokel is gonna join me for that one. Hey, can we tell Bree congratulations?
Oh, it's gonna stay.
Yeah, just moments ago. Formally appointed Bree to be our Director of School Improvement. So Bree's been at the high school here for 4 years and be finishing up her doctorate here in the next year. So let's give her a round of applause.
Yeah.
Thank you. And with that, so tonight we're presenting on AP dual credits, post-secondary success. I think the neat thing about the title in that slide is we started with just talking about AP years ago, and we've grown this conversation a lot. So I'm excited to continue that with you all this evening. So jumping into AP updates. This week, last week is AP testing. We're in the bulk of AP testing right now. If you know a high schooler that's AP testing, please give them a little bit of extra patience because it's a stressful time. We have 138 students taking those AP exams, which is pretty incredible. That number has been rising in recent years. Our most popular exams are AP Lit and Comp and AP Gov. That's been the same for a while now. Kids really like to take those tests. A new update is that most of the tests are now digital. So that's something that we've fully moved to digital this year, with the exception of math and science, which are hybrid. So it'll be interesting to see, what that yields. The nice thing is, I think, as we know, colleges are probably doing things mostly digital these days. So for students to get that experience in high school is really important. In the next handful of years, we're going to be adding AP biology. So our honors biology class, which is dual credit articulated with EOU, that one is 200 level credit. They've said they want upperclassmen to be taking that class. So we're going to pause the honors biology for the next few years and then reintroduce that as AP biology in the coming years. So it expands our AP opportunities while keeping our dual credit the same. So we're looking forward to that. And then the last update relevant to AP is that we're still getting really great positive feedback from students about those AP prep classes, kids coming up to me and Mr. Huffman in the hallways and saying, hey, this class with Ms. Wiles, it's really helping me. We're feeling really prepared for this test because of the work we've done with Mr. Lowenbach in the morning and things like that. So thank you for allowing us to offer those opportunities for kids. It really makes a difference. Pass it to you.
Can we go back to something you just said?
Yeah.
Did you say you're pausing honors biology for a couple of years and then introducing AP?
Yes, because the freshmen take honors biology, freshmen, sophomores typically. So we're going to do put kids in regular biology as freshmen. And then once those current freshmen that have already done the dual credit have moved their way through the system, we'll reintroduce AP biology. So you'd get a new round of kids earning that dual credit.
What about those two classes that would normally go into honors biology?
They're gonna go straight into regular biology, then take honors chemistry, and then jump into the AP sequences of their choices.
Would
In
that
physics.
The opportunity for 2 years to take advanced biology of any sort? What's the sense of it? I don't understand.
We can't
We
articulate.
can't
freshman.
articulate any dual credit for it. And that's the real like foundation of that honors biology class. They're saying, you know, you doesn't want to give that to freshmen. They're wanting that to be reserved for upper levels.
2 years where kids have to suffer so that they'll have to get eventually.
It's more in line with a lot of the, I mean, if like the English departments, they do honors 9, honors 10, and then AP Lit and Comp. So it's kind of replicates a lot of the other departments in their dual credit offerings in AP.
I'm bad, considering that you're about to get a doctorate. You can figure this out if you go think about it a little harder. I would not punish it.
Okay, we'll work on it.
Yeah, we don't consider it punishing, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds punitive to me.
okay. Moving on to dual credit. So we just introduced the core transfer map and the AOT this year. This year, I think we have 10 to 12, I think 12 students that are going to get the core transfer map. The core transfer map is the one where we take a big group of dual credit classes and then we send the transcript to COCC, that it's packaged, and then that can transfer to any in-state school. So that's happening. And then the AOT, I think we have 2 students for sure getting it, maybe 3. Those, I think those numbers will go up. Those were added, if you remember, pretty late, and we had to do some creative stuff with our schedule to make sure we met all the requirements for those things to happen. But we're excited about those 2 things because it's like a tangible thing that people can take with them. And then in addition, like I think Ms. Lombach mentioned, we have a new dual credit class, the Ed 101, articulating with COCC, and that's the one that where the students that read at Crooked River will get college credit for that as well. So pretty excited about that. As you know, we have a lot of dual credit classes here at Crook County High School, but those are some of the new things happening. And then for the last 5 years, we've been able to kind of see what the most popular colleges were that students would attend, and the list there in front of you is the most popular colleges. And you'll notice there's a good mix of 4-year universities and 2-year universities. So that's pretty neat. And what we've noticed too is a lot of those students that attend the 2-year university go on to pursue a bachelor's degree at a 4-year university afterwards. So it's just some data for you on the most chosen colleges.
Yeah. And then another thing we're looking at was, you know, some disaggregated data around college going categories. One of the things that stuck out is male versus female. So averaging out the last 3 years, 42% of our young ladies and 23% of our young guys are going to college. So we see a pretty big difference in that there. Paired with that, though, we see more male students in some of our CTE programs that head straight into careers. So you'll see later on, one of our big initiatives, I would say, is to start figuring out how we're tracking students who are earning degrees in the trade, or, you know, trade certifications, things like that, that are relating right into jobs to help paint that narrative a little better. One of our indicators that really stuck out is our talented and gifted students. Their enrollment in post-secondary education is above the state average. So I think that's exciting, showing that we're serving those students well. And then in categories of homelessness, experiencing poverty, and disabilities, categories we really want to increase opportunities for, we do lag behind the state average there, but we're showing improvement year after year. So we hope to see that growth continue as we expand opportunities to all students and try to recruit more students into these programs, which we've seen in recent years with our dual credits and AP engagement.
Sorry, go back. Yeah, no, you're so sorry. I'm kind of curious about this male, 23 female, because that's a mega trend that we're seeing like across North America. And so I think it's easy. I don't want to say I'm not trying to be derogatory at all.
Yeah.
I think it is, probably CTE is a factor, but I think that might be just kind of a little bit of oversimplification of a trend that's not just unique to our school. And I personally would love to see more of like just an understanding of what's driving that for us. And I was even talking to Mr. Cochran tonight about You know, like I wanna know why we start out in welding with like 40 kids and by the end we have 6, you know, and some of that is just attrition, whatever, but I think there's some other factors there that are going on that I think a double click into the data is worth understanding. And this, even we're talking about these kiddos that are graduating early, like, do we really understand what's driving that trend? And then the other things, this, my brain is gone. But is this homelessness and experiencing poverty, like, I would love to see, like, where are we now and like, where do we want to be? And like, what are we gonna do like around that? Because I think if we're just all on the same page. And if you guys need stuff like to do this differently, then I think everybody here wants to know that. So.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, it says we've shown growth year over year. Do we have any correlation between the growth and what we're doing?
Yeah.
Is it
Like
nutritional services? Is it some other kind of service that we're providing that's causing that growth? Or is it just something that we're observing?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's multifaceted. I think there's a lot of reasons why that could be. I think we've expanded opportunities for kids vastly and connections to kids with clubs, sports, things like that. In recent years, that's probably tied to some of it. I also will jump ahead a little bit here, but Mr. Huffman and I were talking about how this started as a committee where we kind of developed goals together, and then it's morphed into more of a report. And we would like to welcome that opportunity to like give us directives, give us ideas of things you want us to look further into, and let's work together to design some goals around this stuff and keep moving the dial.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but I'm also like, you guys are the educators, right? And like, we're here to empower you, and so, and this isn't me just like trying to put it back on you, but it's like, I want to understand this data better, and if there's gaps in funding, or if there's gaps in programs or whatever, then let's talk about this, because this goes to me the heart of what we do, especially, and so like, I just think we need like to understand more some of the causation and correlations between what we're doing and where we're behind. And there's no judgment. We're here. Like, it's just what's the best way forward.
I'd like to see a school that's dealt with the homeless and poverty, disabilities, and overachieve. Just their programs would get there.
Anecdotally, we've had more community partners come into our schools. For the longest time, it was like we had to go see them. Like, we had to get our kiddos that didn't have the resources. We had to go find a way to get them there. And like I said, it's not, I don't have any hard data, but I know that like some of the community partners that we have now, they're doing a better job of coming to our school and seeing our kids. And I think that might be a reason why we've seen a trend up. But I'd like you, I would love to see a school that's like, top tier on that and see what we could do to model that.
We can keep this topic. We report to the board quarterly on this, AP and seniors opportunity. So we'll keep bringing back more information.
Do it more frequently.
Okay, good.
Well, like, especially this, like, I don't know, like, it's like, to me, it's like we're looking at the top of the ocean and there's like all these, I want to.
So you want us to present to the board more? Great. Love it.
Reading the town and give it post-it secondary enrollment. These kids that are graduating with 60, 70 credits. Blessed to have my son be one of them, but I know there's a handful of others that experience the same problem. When he was at Oregon State, is he got there and after the fall term of the freshman year, he had his associates. And so by midway through beginning of his sophomore year, he's like, okay, well, it's time to pick your direction of which way you want to go. He's like, I'm not ready for that. You know,
Right.
He's doing junior and senior things as a sophomore.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
It is. And I said, I talked to other parents of Brandon and that same exact thing. And not only that, but he graduated a year early. So he graduated as a junior. He couldn't get any of the internships because all the internships were seniors, going to seniors that summer. And so he's there ready to graduate. I'm sorry, this doesn't apply to you, you can't have this internship. And so it's an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage, and I don't know how,
Be really careful about that.
well, how you can, if there's, you know, just, if there's anything that we can put with them as they're going out.
Yeah.
And then it credits them to be able to get those internships. If for crying out loud, the kid graduated a year early, why wouldn't you want them as an intern?
Yeah,
But they just don't apply.
Mhm.
So it's not a lot, but I'm trying to, about the handful of parents that have the same goal. I don't know how you fix that to allow them to be that much more successful.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it became a disadvantage, but saved a lot of money.
100%.
I'm not telling you
Sure.
that, but
yeah.
it was actually harder at the end.
Yeah.
Because he
Right.
struggled because he couldn't get what he needed. He was too far past.
it's almost like these
Mhm.
years, these kind of like gap years of like, okay, so now you're 17 and heading out into the world, and maybe that's not a high school issue, but like, I know like historically, we're kind of dealing with some breakdowns between the board and the community and all that, but I think, like, I don't want you guys just to report data, it's like, tell us, like, okay, this data, but this is also what we need to do, you know, like, what you need from us, because it's like, I don't
Plan of
wanna,
action.
I don't want you guys to feel like something to give. Make this look great, like, I wanna be able to partner. Because it's on all of us to do this, and
It's something people might want to think about is that till 2 years ago, board always had standing committee, or not standing committees, can't have standing committee, but had temporary subject committees to look at issues like this and figure out how to dive in. We would have two board members maybe and 6 to 8
Mhm.
staff members, and they would meet regularly to deep issues like how do we deal with boy-girl gaps and how do we deal with college going and that sort of thing. We did away with that by board choice because the board wanted to do everything unanimously a couple years ago. But there is no reason as we get to the organizational meeting in July, we couldn't think about going back to that. And then doing those deep dives, we need to limit to the big 2 or 3 things you care about, or you'll kill your staff. But if you do have those big things, and think of it as a good way to move the agenda.
Can I jump even further back? I want to go back to your AP stuff.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna jump.
Let's do it.
Do you have plans for expansion for offering more AP, like chemistry, physics, something else that's not on your list or thing?
yeah, especially for kiddos that want to go into sciences, like, it's.
Well, even beyond that.
We have AP chemistry.
Even language arts, something else, I don't know.
Yeah, so we have AP chemistry, we have AP physics.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we kind of want to add the AP biology to round that out. AP Gov. The one that's popular that every year we'll have a kid or 2 take that we don't have is AP psychology. So it's just a matter of staffing and like creating the need for it. So that's one that we've kind of always had in the back of our minds a bit. And then another one that I'd say we've discussed at some point in time would be computer science. AP computer science is another one that's rising in popularity. And as that becomes a requirement by the state, eventually I hear, it will be, I think, at the front of our minds to add that one as well.
And I think it's just important to look at this like holistically as a roadmap of not just being like, oh, let's add this, and I'm not saying we're doing this for you, but I think it's like, this needs to be done in the context of the job market and what is actually going to, where are the demands that's gonna be, and are we adding AP classes in the context of like, that makes people employable, right? Like, that's the end goal.
We also, one of the things is being super responsive to student request and desire, making sure as we do forecasting that, you know, if we have 20 kids requesting AP computer science, then we want to be able to fit that demand. So a lot of factors that we're looking at, we need to keep the board updated on this.
I hope there's some kind of communication with the students too, to let them know that, hey, request this if you want something, or beyond something, because I know a lot of times our opportunities that we have, we don't know about them until you need them, but you don't know you need them. You know what I'm saying, kind of,
And that's
so I
why it
don't want
needs to be a
students left
roadmap.
in the dark.
Yeah.
It needs to be a part of the roadmap.
Which our high school counselors did this year.
Yes.
Tell them to get on.
I think there's one more slide.
There is, So National Student Clearinghouse, this houses a lot of data around post-secondary success. It's where a lot of students will go to order their transcripts, things like that. So they keep in touch with the colleges to know who's completing degrees and things like that. So we were able to get some access to that information this year. And what we see is students going straight into college right after high school, not taking gap years. We see students transferring from school to school and sometimes to university from community college, which is really promising because then we see them using that Oregon Promise and then going to university, which is good. We see a good amount of kids retaining their enrollment first year to second year. And then of those earning degrees, a lot of them getting bachelor's degrees. So that's cool. And then a lot of students going to public colleges in Oregon. One of the reasons why that core transfer map I think is pretty valuable is because if they're going to Oregon schools, that packages everything up really nicely for them. So we're excited to have that. And then we're seeing a slight increase in community college enrollment in recent years. So those are some of our things that we're celebrating. And we've really seen that last year we were at 47% of our students going to college, which is pretty awesome, I think, for our community and a big jump from the year prior. So we like that. In terms of points of growth for us, we'd like to get better, like I mentioned before, at tracking what our students in CTE are doing after high school, as well as degree earners. We'd like to dig deeper into that data and know more about it and know more about what kinds of degrees kids are getting, some things like that. Maybe it's sending a survey out to their Gmails after they graduate or something if we can, to try to get more information. We don't have a lot of students that go out of state or go to private schools. So I think just increasing knowledge around opportunities about that is another small takeaway. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we landed on for our growth anyways. But I think that to your point about looking into the gender gaps there, that's definitely something that we can follow up with. Yeah, other follow-ups you guys are interested in?
I have a list.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. 6.4 CTE program of partnerships with Mr. Griffin. Slides. Is that Mr. Falcon still?
Is that actually?
What's that? No, that is not me. Maybe if I was welding, you have to get really good at a grinder, not so much welding, but grinding all the stuff out. First of all, just thank you guys so much for taking time. I know before the board meeting, we had our open house going around, seeing some of the things that our students are actually doing every day. It is awesome to see all the opportunities our students have. We just want to give you a little bit of an update on some things and programs. Crook County High School has 8 CTE pathways, and we feel very fortunate that we give that many different opportunities to students. For a school our size, we are way above the normal, and that they have opportunities to not only take beginning classes, but to go into some advanced levels. And so just to kind of make sure everybody knows what we exactly have, we have a construction program. You guys heard today, Mr. Berger was the CTE Teacher of the Year. We started that about 3 years ago and have started it a little, and it's built into something really awesome. And that's a lot has to do with Mr. Berg and him taking over that program. Mrs. Krofchick runs our business program. Culinary Arts, Macy Hagensey runs that. Health Sciences is Sam that was here tonight. He's brand new to us. Running Health Science, Graphic Design and Media. Christy Struck runs that program. She kind of half art, half graphic design and media. And so we share that position. Mr. Mum runs our robotics and computer science. By far our biggest pathway is ag science and natural resources. It is by far the one that is most forecasted for by our students. That is why we have 2 teachers in that area. And then manufacturing. And so we feel very blessed to have that many different options for our students. We kind of had we've always had, vocational training. And, from when I was a kid, it was wood shop and metal shop. we really wanted to take that to that next level, and we had this idea of starting it at a younger age. And when we start talking about career and technical education, it isn't just a conversation when they have it as a junior and senior and they're starting to go in that real world. And so we started putting those down to our middle school levels. And one of the things that we came up with about 4 years ago was an action lab. And so we put CTE into our middle school for both 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to take that opportunity to learn different areas. It's not a full 12 weeks of classes. It's 2 weeks, little segments. So they get little tastes of that there. We still have our probably one of our most sought after is woodshop down at our middle school. They love doing things with their hands. We have now, with Meta's help, we have a K through 12 robotics program. And so we have that all the way through our middle school. Our 6th and 7th and 8th graders have the opportunity to learn different types of robotics, which includes engineering, those type of things, problem solving. And then once they get to the high school, they can go robotics 1, 2, and 3. And so we also have engineering classes that are down at our middle school. And so we're really trying to kind of boost that factor of starting to think about careers at a younger and younger age. We've kind of taken it even a step farther with our elementary schools. We're doing outreach nights. We're doing programs where we go to assemblies and show off robotics. And we had our second annual K through 12 robotics night, which was a huge success. We had a lot of turnout from our community, but we're having our high school students go down to our elementary classes and share some of those CTE things. If nothing else, getting them doing hands-on, thinking about that future of, what they may want to do. And we all know that elementary students, they may have all kinds of ideas, and that is okay. We just want to let them know there are options out there. One of the things that we always talk about is students only know what they know, and they only know what we expose them to. And so a lot of times we get exposed by, somebody in our family, at school. And so we want to give those opportunities for them to start thinking about and hands-on doing things at an early age. And that's why we really start doing it elementary, but we're expanding that to our middle school. Just some numbers for you a little bit. About 96% of our students take a CTE class or multiple CTE classes at our high school. And so it is the majority of our electives here. And that is what is driving all of these really cool programs, is all those students going into those classes. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. Some of our students, they may go into business and then go over to health science, and then they may end up in robotics. And some of our students will actually get some of that stuff that they got from middle school and say, I want to go health science. I want to go construction. And so they get into a path and get to the point where they are what's called a completer. But we believe that is important in either way. We'd love to have completers in our program. That is something that the state takes data from. And we obviously want as many completers as possible. But I think there's some value in the ability to say, I thought I was wanting to go into business and now I want to become a nurse. Them getting that knowledge in high school or middle school and making those decisions is just as valuable what you don't like as what you do like. And so that way they don't have to get to college and spend a year, 2 years into college, spending a lot of money and then go, I'm going over here, which I did. So, so those things are really important. We've over 400 certificates this year, as our push to have more certifications. We're adding those in all of our areas. We have over 30 students that have in or completed an internship as we get close to the end of May, where those are starting to all come complete, which is awesome. One of the things is the number you see at the bottom, pathway completers. That's the highest number Crook County High School has ever had. That is students that have taken 6 classes in one area. And so they have taken 6 whole classes, whether it be a variety of them or in a row. They've completed that. And that is the largest number we've ever had. So
like, why is that? I mean, I love hearing that. Like, what do you think is driving that?
I think some of it is that ability for us to give in front of them at the middle school a little bit. They get ideas of what is out there, what they like, what they don't like. And so that ability for them to get a little knowledge before they get into it. And then I think a lot of it is hats off to our teachers. They're becoming more involved. We're getting more community partnerships. We're getting more community projects that they're getting invested in. And when a student gets invested in a program, they want more and more and more and more. And so I think a lot of that's what's happening. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on a little bit is what's called work-based learning. And that is something that we actually track data with the state on. State is now wanting to know how many hours our students are actually getting work-based learning in. And we've made a big push inside of our programs to make sure that every one of our CTE pathways has work-based learning in them. And as you can see there, that's clinical, internships, practicum, school-based enterprises, cooperative work experience, service learning, pre-apprenticeship, or workplace simulations. And so depending on what area that is, we're really pushing that. And 100% of our students, we saw at 96 go through our CTEs, 100% of those kids are getting work-based learning hours inside of that. And so that's a real focus for us, is to really push how do we prepare those CTE students for the workplace, and getting those simulations, getting those pre-apprenticeships, those internships, that's really important.
It's almost like, to me, the value of the workplace experience too is like, you filter out kiddos that are like, yeah, I like the idea of this, versus I really like the reality of actually showing up for this job.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big part of it. It's where the kind of the rubber meets the road. The fact that, oh, we can learn a lot of stuff, but let's transfer it actually into a real career. And that's where we see that connection. And sometimes we get oh, I'm not ready for that. And that's an important piece too.
I might just say I've seen it firsthand with the middle school, starting young with the CTE. My daughter took that class. I want to give props to this Katzenberger. She's doing awesome. But not knowing about the program and then being exposed to it and just having all these ideas come home.
Yeah,
they're really cool.
Yeah.
And things they didn't know about and I didn't know was being offered. So not that she may go that route,
right?
But she's being exposed to it and loving it. So you guys are doing a great job with engagement on that level.
A lot of great conversation starters that come out of it. So, so just to, we wanted to just take a few minutes and kind of explain a little bit of what you saw tonight. Obviously, you guys getting in those simulators and driving those really cool. It's obviously that's not one of our programs of study, but that's something that we're still offering. We're trying to make those connections, even though we may not have a program, because the reality is we can't have 50 different pathways for students. It's not viable, but we're still trying to make those connections in ways with, like, partnering with BTI, having them come in alongside of us and produce a really cool, where they get 3 weeks of training. They're going to come out of that if they went and paid for that themselves, it's about $8,000 a student. They're going to come out that other side and be way ahead. It literally, they're going to walk into some great job opportunities. And so that's a really cool situation that we can come in there. But also, we go out to our welding shop. Our welding teachers, that we're now able to give a beginning, middle, intermediate, and advanced classes. And so we're really trying to build those programs where our goal is to get some kids certified in welding. And when we look at it, having trimesters and that amount of time to do that, sometimes it's really difficult for our kids to get classes lined up so they can spend that much time in succession to get those certifications. But we're really trying to move those kids to that point where we're getting certifications. And our construction program, the kids that were out there, we've started some clubs and some things that are outside of our class that expand a little bit. And so those students that were out there today putting mini walls up and those things, those were all part of our competition team. We have a construction competition team that we went about a month ago and competed against other schools in the area. And it was interesting. If you notice, the one student that was working on robots, he's also in our construction program. He took 3rd in the region for framing skills, but he's also high in our computer science and robotics. And so he's one of those jack of all trades, but he's doing some really cool stuff. But we have a lot of some of our opportunities that go outside of our class. And so you see those kids that were doing construction today, they're not only getting that in class, they're getting community projects, but they're also doing some club competition stuff, which is really awesome. Just wanted to show on the next slide that some very valuable partnerships that we have. Meta, as you guys know, I've talked to you, the board, quite a few times about Meta's partnership and how much they have done for our CTE programs. We have one that has been going now over a year now. It's called our Shock program. It's students helping our community. And we have partnered up with our advanced construction class to get funding through Meta to go help nonprofits in town. And so we started at the Humane Society. We did a total remodel up there. We went to Horses on the Ranch, built a classroom on the back of their riding arena, from excavation to concrete to walls to windows to roofing. Got some unbelievable experience, but also helped that nonprofit out. And last year we came in with a giant need from our community, our senior center. They have right next door is the Neat Repeat, which is a way to fund their senior center program for meals for our seniors. And their building was going to the spot where it was going to have to shut down. And part of that issue was flooring. And so our Shock program kind of stepped in. We've had kids there every day for about a couple hours a day redoing the flooring. And it's right close to 15,000 square foot building. They put all new flooring in. And Mr. Berg has done an unbelievable job keeping those students motivated for a 7-month project of laying flooring. And I know I laid floor in my house, and after a day, I'm done. My knees hurt. I can't do it. But they have put 15,000 square feet of flooring done. They should be getting complete pretty close to the end of next week. And then they will go back and fix any of the little things that we need to go back on the checklist. And so that's been an unbelievable program. That's been an unbelievable situation. We're still connecting with Meta to keep that flow of helping nonprofits in our town, and that partnership. We got a brand new one starting. We wrote what's called the Saddle Up Grant, and that is to advance our business program. And the reason that there's a rack back here with all kinds of clothes and water bottles and all that really awesome swag stuff. We are building a bookstore here at our school. We're actually going to take a little bit of room out of this library, move this wall, but right behind us, as soon as school gets out, we're going to be busting a hole through here, making a bookstore in the back of our library here that will be able to open up during athletic events, school events. They are going to run an entire class out of it. They will be selling, running marketing campaigns, doing all the things. Our goal is to make it feel like a college bookstore where they can come in, get things, supplies, clothing, swag. But with that, we're also turning that out to a mobile unit. We will have a mobile business unit that we can take to softball games. We can go to all of our events here at Crook County, whether it be here at this building, whether it be at the middle school track, wherever that is, we'll be able to go and sell things and have reader squares and all those. And so it's really good experience for our students to want to go into that business mindset of how do we sell things? How do we show them? How do we produce it? You know, all the little things that you learn starting up a business and doing those things. But we're really super excited to have that right on school property. We will eventually get to the point where we're manufacturing our own t-shirts, getting that full circle of producing all of our gear. So last thing is as we start to look, you know, a lot of our guidance comes from our industry partners, where we are pushing our programs, where we're pushing what they want. And I just went to our teachers and said, hey, who are the people that you're working closely with? And the reason we do that is this is not just us saying, hey, we need to do this or that. We're really getting that guidance. We're putting up the bumper gates, I guess, a little bit, and they guide us how we're going to run that program. Ultimately, we want to listen to those people that are hiring out of our school. They're hiring our students, and we want, what do they need to know to go work for you? Some of those partners are, you know, they give us material. Some of them give us ideas. And so that range of support for our industry partners is really a wide range, but we're connecting a lot. And it's not only people in Crook County, but you're going to see it's in Bend and Redmond. It's all over Central Oregon, which actually helps us make our students more marketable as they go out into the real workforce. We alluded to this a little bit, but our clubs, our competition teams, you guys know our culinary arts students are just doing some amazing things. They won state again this year. That's the second time that we've won state in the last 4 years, I believe, 3 years. Just got back last week from Maryland and placed 21 in the nation, which is amazing. There were only 5 public high schools in the entire 50 state competition. We were one of the 5. The rest of them are academies, culinary side institutes off of them. So for us to have one teacher, one public high school, it is off the charts. Macy does an amazing job. It's so very cool. You know, when you talk about staff and you talk about that is what makes our programs. It's our CTE teachers. They're doing some amazing stuff. I can't say how impressed I am with our ag science, our FFA. They are so busy. They're constantly going to competitions, teaching kids how to speak in front of others and all the things. They do some amazing stuff. And I mentioned earlier our construction. We had framing competitions. We're gonna get into more of those. Those kids loved it, so we're gonna press more on those. So wrapping up all of our CTE things, we're trying to give a huge variety of really quality things to our kids to not only instruct them and get them skills, but make them marketable as they go past high school and to get really good, well-paying jobs.
I can't like this enough. I do have one question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to hear how we're starting to think about how AI is going to disrupt.
Yeah, it is something that I've actually had conversations with our computer science, Mr. Mum. When we went and got Mr. Berg's award at the Oregon ACTE, 40% of the conference was about AI. And it is becoming a thing where we pushed coding for so long. Coding was every kid needs to learn how to code. So we're going through the things. How do we, get coding classes in? And we start that and we get into it. And it was one of the weirdest things I've seen is such a career that was everywhere. And then this last year, everybody says, don't ever teach coding. Don't stop, because AI will code anything that you ever want to do. And so a lot of people have a lot of fear about AI, about it's taking over, people stop thinking. And the reality, AI is not going away. It is going to be used more and more. And so the conversation we're having is to get ahead of that and learn how to use AI to become better as an employee, because there is some value of learning how to use AI with good prompts, how to use it to pull the best situations. The keynote speaker is kind of a guru in AI. And he showed this demonstration of the game Tetris. And Tetris took 3 years to create and code. 10 people worked for 3 years. He flipped over, said, hey, he knew some language in coding. I want you to produce a Tetris game. I want you to use this code. Hit a button. He created a Tetris game in about 27 seconds. And so it's changing how we think, it's changing how we have to go into the future. And that is something that our teachers are kind of grasping onto now, that we are having that conversation about how do we teach it? How do we use it responsibly? Because the reality right now, students are using it. They're using it mostly in a negative way of trying to figure out how to write papers for them and do that type of stuff. But there's a way, especially in CTE, how do we use AI to get jobs and things accomplished at a much easier rate? So
I was really impressed out in the Commons area when I asked the young man that was doing the 3D printing. I asked him that question. I said, you're really into this, really good at explaining it. Are you concerned about being replaced by AI? Is this all for nothing? And he gave me a really cogent answer. He had thought that out. He said, there are pieces of this that will absolutely be AI driven, but there's complex problem solving that only a human can do. And he gave examples of that, and has something to do with G-code, not family. But he had completely thought that out from beginning to end. And he had somewhere picked that up and built that into the application he was getting around CTE. And I was so excited to see that. Even more so, I was impressed that he could tell me that in such clear language. And I saw that throughout the evening with the best spokespeople for this stuff are our young people, not necessarily their teachers.
No, absolutely.
But they have such a compelling vision for themselves, and they're so articulate and knowledgeable about it. And when you hear one of them, you can't help but, want to engage and help them further.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But they've thought bigger questions.
Well, I think it's ongoing. Yeah, the living question.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna evolve. The more we get into it, those conversations are having to be made, and our students are talking about it with our teachers. So.
Big thank you to Mr. Ryan Cochran
Yeah,
for,
absolutely.
he's the engine behind all of this.
Sure.
Hey, you bet. Thank you, guys.
6.5 student attendance.
And this is, this presentation is a follow-up to our work session, where the board had a few questions about attendance, so.
I'm back. All right. So we have a district attendance team with administrators from every building that join us once a month, and we talk about attendance systems and programs and updates and things. And one of the things we start every single meeting with is sharing celebrations. And those celebrations always tend to echo the feeling of having a student who's struggling significantly, very severely chronic chronic non-attender. You get them in for a meeting. That meeting with the parents often pretty hard because you're trying to figure out what's going to work for that kid. And then a few weeks later, you find that you've connected that kid to a sport, or you've connected them to a teacher. You've created an academic plan with them that's allowing them to be successful. And you see them around the building, they're happy. They're like, hey, look, I'm at school today. And that feeling is just, it's really special. And so we're proud of the work that we're doing with those kids. And it's really valuable connections are made with students when they're struggling with attendance. And we see that those meetings are very pivotal in what their next direction is. And we love when we can have a good success story turnaround. So that's what I wanted to open with. Right now, our district attendance rate is about 67%. That's 1% higher than the state average. In the post-COVID times, we've seen attendance significantly drop across the state, across the nation, and that's impacted us here as well. So our goal as a district is to bring that up to 80% within the next 3 years. So since 2022, we've grown by about 10%. And we want to keep that growth steadily climbing up until we reach those pre-pandemic rates of around 80%. And then hopefully after that, dig deeper and go higher and get closer to 85%, I like to say. So we are working, like I said, as a district team to develop systems that will address those barriers students face and continue the work. So what some of that work looks like is first just celebrating the wins. So every building does different incentives. They look different at the elementary school than they do at the high school. Obviously, at the elementary school, I know they give out pins. At the middle school, they do popcorn parties and donuts. At the high school, we've done a candy cart. We do weekly pride drawings. There's all sorts of things happening across the district that are celebrating our students that are growing their attendance rate or having perfect attendance or having close to perfect attendance. And then individual shout outs. So especially for those students who have had to have attendance meetings with their parents and things, finding them in the building, telling them good job, and working with them on their growth academically is really important to us. And then we also sent a positive postcard home across the district for students with positive attendance. So that was another thing we did to celebrate those students showing up to school every day. In terms of what the interventions look like, it starts with parent notifications. So if a student is gone during that day, the parents are notified the same day via telephone, Parent Square, and then they receive letters with corresponding days of absences. And this year we've kind of revamped those letters a little bit to intervene earlier with softer language. Things like, if your family's been gone on a vacation, that's okay. If it's something else, please come talk to us. And to really open that line of communication and help families see the importance of their student being there every day. And then those letters progressively get, stronger and stronger about the importance and eventually to that point of saying, hey, let's have a meeting. But with that, we're also doing care calls. So if we notice a student who is gone for a week, who's not typically gone, pick up the phone and we're finding out why they're not there. We track the attendance very significantly, I'd say, at every school with data trackers. And then the student check-ins. So teacher mentorships, teachers working with students on their attendance, as well as administrators and counselors developing academic plans for those kids, setting goals, checking in on those goals. We see that as being a really effective intervention. And then those family meetings that I talked about early on, these are for students who are missing a lot of days, and we want to bring them in. Usually it involves a counselor and parents, guardians, whoever, to try to develop what is that plan that's going to help you be successful. Oftentimes in those meetings, we're filling out an attendance contract, and really digging into what is the root cause of why this kid is not attending school and how can we address it. And then finally, in some scenarios, we are partnering with local resources such as the juvenile department or making referrals to DHS. And these are the really, really severe situations. And I will say that our juvenile department has been a tremendous partner in addressing chronic absenteeism in our district. They've done a really great job of stepping up to the table and partnering with us, especially at the high school level. So we're grateful for that partnership. Finally, one of the questions that you guys had from that work session was ADM and attendance. So when does absenteeism impact ADM? And that is when they've been gone for 10 days consecutively. They're dropped from enrollment. This is a state law we have to follow. And that's when their attendance impacts ADM, is that 10 consecutive days. Now, if they're gone every other day, it still isn't going to impact ADM. So we really thoroughly track 10-day dropouts in this district. We're very good about knowing who is dropped and not coming to school and then intervening from there. So that's something I feel really proud of, and we're not letting kids fall through the cracks. Lastly, I'll say, so what we're trying to avoid is chronic absenteeism, and that's missing 10% of the school year, which equates to about 13 and a half days. So that's what a lot of that communication that goes home will say. Later, when I present on the policy, I'll explain a different definition, but most oftenly we are focused on addressing not reaching chronic absenteeism, which is 10%. So, questions? Thoughts?
Just for the edification of newer board members,
Mhm.
talk a little bit about program used to have a partnership with the courts that take it away by the legislature, but that was so much more effective. This is band-aiding. Wow, this is great work, and thank you for doing what you can do within the context of what you have left.
Yeah.
But I think we ought to all understand at this table what we had compared to what we had.
Yeah, so prior to the COVID years, we had truancy court, which is really a partnership still with the court. So what would happen in that scenario is we would refer a student to truancy court. Their parents would be cited for failure to supervise, failure to make their child attend school. And then those students would appear in court with their parents, and the judge would help with interventions. Is really like, it is such a positive partnership. And I think just because it involves a citation, it gets a bad rap. And so props to Kirk County. We did an ordinance recently that we've been able to cite some students. That's kind of fluctuated in and out. But when that process is in place, it just develops really strong partnerships and wrapping resources around the student. So my mention of the juvenile department, they have a program called Level 7, which mirrors truancy court, but we can't mandate that a student gets engaged in it. So we can refer students, and then their participation with their parents is voluntary. We're often able to get people on board with that, and that's been great. But in occurrences where we can't, our hands are pretty tied, unfortunately.
The state legislature, in a fit of concern about whether it was equitable or not, they prohibited the use of truancy court, because they pointed out that people were being cited in the truancy court at higher rates from different ethnic categories. And so they said they didn't mean to make it illegal, but then they did, and then they were gonna fix it, and they haven't. I know OSBA has talked about it, but I've never seen it actually make it through. But it was like tying both hands behind our backs. And staff has done a wonderful job of keeping it up.
Yeah.
Despite that, but it hasn't been thanks to any help from OBE or legislature. And it's something, as we do advocacy work, which is part of our job, we should be advocating for more help for our staff. like getting rid of tools, getting away. All we want is kids to come to school. That's it.
I mean, is, to that point though, I mean, short of changing legislative, is there other resources for you that your team needs to help with this or policy, like?
The advocacy is a major component. I think there's like misconceptions around truancy court that it's only used in the most severe situations when we have to. We're always reaching for partnerships with families first. And so one of the things moving forward that our district team's looking at is partnerships within the community that are going to enhance that work. Especially because students who are under 5th grade are not eligible for the level 7 support with the juvenile department. So it's really our elementaries that I worry the most about with attendance. Well, not in regards to their data or anything, but just in tapping into resources and the family dynamics.
And they're not eligible because why?
Because they are, at that point, the juvenile department has said that you're just engaging with the parent mostly, as opposed to the child. So they want to work with kids on positive behaviors and things to get the kid to school versus the parenting component. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So hoping we get more answers soon and that we can expand upon this work. I know that I think Joel had mentioned to you guys that it's what I'm focusing my dissertation on. And when I was looking at ideas of what I was going to do, attendance wasn't the, oh, yay, I want to do this thing. But it was the point where I said, our district we need to improve this. And so it's gotten a lot closer to my heart for sure, as I've spent countless hours on it.
Yeah, I guess one question, just like going forward, I'd love to know, like, if you need stuff from us, like on this, like I don't have visibility.
Okay. Absolutely.
Because if the kids aren't here, you can't. They get learned.
Yep.
I'm such a litigation.
Yeah, absolutely.
About 3 years ago, it was 2 or 3.
Yep. And then we had the ordinance for about half the year last year and we had it for about half the year this year. It's just gone up and down,
The
so.
problem with ordinances, I understand it, right?
Yeah.
The judges don't agree on whether it's valid or not. The judge thinks it's not. What thinks it is, not what the clerk thinks.
Yep. So. That's where we are. Thank you.
Okay, high school math curriculum adoption, Miss Keely and Kirsty Booster.
For those of you who don't know, this is Kirsty Booster. She teaches math at the high school, and she has been a pivotal part for the last 3 years of the high school math adoption. So I asked her to be here tonight in case you had any questions I couldn't answer, and also to recognize the work that she's done around finding a curriculum for high school math. So just to give context for those of you who haven't been here, ODE has a timeline of adoptions of new materials. So math was on the timeline 3 years ago to look at materials to then potentially adopt for use 2 years ago. And so we have been slowly expanding our adoption of math. So elementary adopted and middle school has adopted math. With high school, we just had some barriers that were in the way, both in terms of quality curriculum as well as standards and finding curriculum that matched the new Oregon standards as of 2021. So what you see here is starting in 2022 and 2023, and that sometimes feels like a little bit forever ago. High school and middle school math teachers at that point were getting together to look at materials, some of the ODE approved materials for math. They had small committees that looked at a number of the different curriculums, and then some of those curriculums we brought in to look at as committees, and Kirsty was a part of that. At that time, we did not find a curriculum that was aligned to our new Oregon state standards and that the team felt met the needs of where the kids were at. So fast forward 2023, 2024, we took several other curriculums and we brought them in, and again, lots of credit to Kirsty and her team at the high school, because we kept saying, here's another one, try this. Here's another one, try this and see what you think. And they certainly did. And we ran the gamut of a curriculum that we thought was gonna be really great, but the customer service was so terrible that we couldn't get any support for the curriculum that turned out to be not so great. We found, customer service that was really great, but products that were not really great. We found some products that would work really well for some things, but wouldn't support, all grade levels. So, do you have anything to add to those first kind of couple of years?
I don't think so. I mean, we're really big about working together, and so being able to have immediate, well, not immediate response, but if we're having an issue and I can't answer it, my teammates can't answer it, we want to do what's best for the students the best way that we can. So if we're having issues, a huge part of that was, can we get that help that we need so we can help the students?
So one positive that we had in 2023 and 2024 is that Shannon McCaw, who we've worked with as a math consultant, but she's also a curriculum developer and designer. She said, I will continue trying to develop high school curriculum. At the time, she had developed middle school curriculum, middle school math curriculum, but had slowly worked to start expanding. And so she has an Algebra 1 curriculum. And for this next year, she and her team thought that they would be able to have a geometry and data science curriculum. And they are not looking at that being ready until sometime in October, maybe, of next year. So we had to kind of say like, okay, what can we do to get the best of a couple worlds, which we really love the EdGEMS curriculum, the Algebra 1 curriculum. And we know that if we purchase the EdGEMS curriculum, that their company is great in terms of if you have one curriculum, you don't just get access to Algebra 1, but you get access to any of the other math curriculums. So as Algebra 1 teachers, they can go on down to 7th grade and look at 7th grade materials. And the same at the middle school. Middle school uses EdGEMS, they can look at Algebra 1 materials. So those digital licenses are open for everybody. So we thought maybe we can do something that's the best of both worlds. And we can adopt Algebra 1 at the EdGEMS curriculum, knowing that as we purchase those licenses, when EdGEMS geometry and data science comes on board, that our teachers will have access to that. In the meantime, the other pilot that we did was through Big Ideas. And it was originally that Oregon Math Big Ideas. We originally looked at it in 2022, and we're not super impressed with just the materials. But then as the elementary adopted Oregon Math, the Big Ideas, said, let's bring that back and let's take a look. The company is really great to work with. Maybe we were looking for too many bells and whistles, too many things. And what we just needed is a straightforward standard kind of curriculum. And then to be able to use it with the activities and the instructional materials and the instructional activities, the ways that Shannon has asked us to engage kids with math in deeper ways. And so we brought Big Ideas back, and we are hoping today, after we had review committees come in and after Kirsty did a great presentation and I talked about the pros of these materials, that we would like to adopt EdGEMS by SMC curriculum for use in our Algebra 1. One of the other positives about that is they're using that at the middle school. So we thought having that come in and for their 9th grade year would be a really great transition. And then moving and doing the geometry and data science currently for Big Ideas, and then Algebra 2 as well through Big Ideas. Thank you for our curriculum review committee members. I really appreciate the large number of review committee members that we had, and most showed up for the night and gave some feedback. Some of their feedback was that the majority of members approved EdGEMS and Big Ideas without restrictions. Their probably top question too was like, having two different curriculums, how do you make that work? Is that a problem or is that not a problem? And Kirsty kind of talked about, like, the math that you teach is the math that you teach, and the curriculum you use is the resource that you use. And both actually curriculums provide some great resources and some great instructional tools. And it would actually be good to have kind of two ways to do that, or two resources to pull from to do that. So two pieces of feedback of note. One was from, one oh my gosh, review committee member. That's a long name. And that Big Ideas Algebra 2 is rigorous and they believed cluttered compared to the Algebra 1 text. The quote from that was kids who excel at math would be lucky to have this text. So they thought the Algebra 2 was quite a bit more rigorous than the Algebra 1 in terms of its presentation and what it asked kids to do. Another feedback note was EdGEMS does not contain enough example problems. I love, and this person said, I love the big ideas outlay in the textbooks. So I showed you those because I think it's indicative of like, we had 9 committee members there, I think that night, and they overwhelmingly said the teachers know what they need. And if these are kind of the texts that they think are the resources, then great, we're supportive. But we did have 2 kind of opposing pieces just from the people in the room of like, EdGEMS doesn't have enough. But then the next person said, Big Ideas has too much. And so I think it just was indicative that, you know, like when you have 27 kids in algebra or 27 kids in a math class, you know, like some it's going to be enough for, and some they're going to need others, or some prefer a layout that looks like this, and some prefer a layout that looks like this. So overwhelmingly, we did not have the whole group say like, this is terrible and this is great. Most said, we trust you. We think if you think it's great, we're going to think it's great. And also here are a few things that we noticed from their look-throughs. Teacher feedback. EdGEMS for Algebra 1 is a natural choice for the middle school to high school transition. In fact, we have talked before about Algebra 1 being offered for more kids at the middle school, and they will be using the Algebra 1 from EdGEMS there. So to kind of keep that ability for the middle school and high school Algebra 1 teachers to partner and how Algebra 1 is taught, a consistent curriculum is actually going to be really helpful for that. EdGEMS is an accessible resource for teacher, easy layout, many options for students. For the teacher feedback, Big Ideas is not as easy for teachers to navigate in terms of the digital portal, like when they go online to look as EdGEMS, but it does contain a multitude of resources, and the sequence of units and skills aligns nicely with standards and similar to what EdGEMS does with layout for a scope and sequence. So I'm done. Any questions Kirsty has to answer, so. Just kidding.
Did the committee take an actual vote?
No, but I have all their feedback right here. So they filled out feedback and it just asked them. So the questions are the type of material, what the highlights were, what their recommendation was, and then they had to explain their recommendation.
Did they convene and discuss with each other or just feed their feedback back to staff?
So they in the room that night actually had quite a bit of conversation after you were done making a presentation with one another. They had lots of questions. It was a really interesting committee meeting in terms of that they got through this, and then they just had a lot of questions. Kind of, Kelsey, it reminded me of the questions that you're asking, like, what do you need as teachers? What are you seeing as trends? How does this help? How often do you use curriculum resources? So in terms of did they vote? No. Not ever have them do that. According to policy, they just give feedback, they bring it to us, and then we make a recommendation to Joel, who makes a recommendation.
Did we have community members participating or just teachers?
No, it was these were community members. At the brothers meeting, I think that was the group that you.
I know, but I don't know who actually showed up.
Yeah, I think of the 11 members that were originally there, I think 8 were in the room, and then we did get one feedback via email. She came in at a time that we weren't there and looked through and gave feedback. So we had, other than my English language curriculum from last year, the elementary one, this was the biggest committee I have had come in and hear the presentation, ask questions, and then give feedback in this way.
In the case of Shannon McCall.
Yeah.
Former teacher and our coach.
Yeah.
Now author of the curriculum they are recommended. What safeguards were set up to prevent her curriculum from slipping in bias?
For bias for us, well, I think that was that originally, when she was helping us with our adoption, she didn't even have anything for high school at all. And so none of her curriculums were even on the table. It became because we put it off for 2 years that we started to ask the middle school how much they had liked. So in terms of bias, we looked at a variety of curriculums across the board. And we don't employ her as a district anymore on a regular basis. And she hasn't been in our buildings this year. So I still call her up and ask her questions about things,
I
but
have no contractual relationship with her
No.
at all.
yeah. I understand the same question came up during the middle school adoption too, around, are we just doing this because we really like Shannon McCall and we want to give her our business, or do we really think that this is the best curriculum? And we have used EdGems for a long time at the middle school, even before we worked directly with Shannon McCall. EdGems was their curriculum choice long before she moved locally or before we had a relationship with her as a consultant.
We're in cycle with this for 5 years.
So if we continue on, yes, this would be a 5-year adoption. This is postponed twice. Because it's been postponed twice. Just the high school math has been postponed. Yep.
How do you get to 4-star rating? Was it 4 versus?
Well, I didn't want to give it a 5-star because we did have people say like, this was cluttered and I didn't, and I thought this needed more. So I wanted to be fair. Out of 9 people there. Not scientific. It was just my feeling, but it was the same rating system that I used the last 3 curriculums that I have brought to you guys. So I figured I'd stay consistent.
With the timing. We're now in May, school really over.
Yep.
There's 2 big ideas curriculum also that I'm not familiar with.
They piloted the big ideas, this year.
And they, so I'm thinking of a previous curriculum when we hurried up and bought it in the early late spring, and then nobody was familiar with it when we were fall or.
Yeah.
And so, will they have time, or will they already be familiar enough, they can launch this curriculum? I mean, I guess they understand, but it's huge. So.
Well, we all have access to it. As far as, I mean, coming down, we were piloting it, was it second trimester, first and second? And we still have access to it, but I mean, we're all pretty good in investigating it ourselves and like, what do I want to do here? And like we said, we have to learn it, and there's a lot of clicking that we still need to figure out, and we don't have full access, like our rosters aren't in there. Is that correct? Mine weren't in there yet. So not everyone's classes are in there yet. So I think if we get the okay and we can actually put our classes in it, we'll definitely take more time to get more confident and comfortable with it and assign more things. But for having limited access, it wasn't challenging to use. It was just taking that extra time to figure out, okay, here's this resource. Do I think I will continue to use this? Yes, I will. And there's so many different ways we can implement it into Algebra 2, geometry. So I think we're all pretty confident in that way. And like we have a teacher who's working with us now who's used EdGems before, and so I know I can speak to her. Oh yes, and big ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you. So she's yes, but she's actually confident in both of them, and so she helped us create the stuff that we could share as well. So I'm not concerned about us feeling like we're unprepared, but that I do think that is something we should consider. Like, is everybody feeling okay with it? Do we need more training? But it seems like having an online curriculum in the past, we're all confident with using online material, and we just have to make sure we're ready to implement it and get the students comfortable with it as well.
And they have asked for not just digital versions, but they've asked for hard textbooks to have in the classrooms as well. Because we understand that, yes, we have to teach kids how to navigate digital things and also sometimes it's really important for them to get out a book and their Chromes don't always work and sometimes internet and those kinds of things, but being able to have the ability to use both is important.
That one concerns me because we're in transition from you to three. We've got, we keep it going out for the summer. We've got new leadership and the superintendent, got ongoing labor negotiations, which could go ugly at any time. You never know. So that's a perfect recipe for things to not go well, because the objection last time was that you're asking teachers to prep for this curriculum when they're off on summer furlough and they're not being compensated. So I would strongly encourage you, if we go ahead and we adopt this, to have a proactive conversation, including the teachers, that says, how are we going to do this in a way that's fair to everybody and sees everybody fair and fall? Otherwise, with all the cracks, with all these new folks, we're gonna fall through one of next to it.
Yeah, I think the hard part, Scott, in the
I
past.
don't wanna be where we were.
No, and yes, I 100%. I think the hard part in the past, especially for elementary, is those adoption years for ELA and math are back to back. And they have not only ELA and then math, but then you add a health or a science onto that. And so every year, if you're a third grade teacher, you are getting something new and needing to incorporate it. At high school, it's a little bit different. Kersey is not teaching science or health or English language arts in her day mostly. She's still doing a little bit of that. But for high school and a lot of times middle school, they're so subject specific that we don't have near the heightened worry about like, oh my gosh, we don't have time. And in terms of getting somebody in to provide professional development, it's also a lot easier to get somebody in to provide professional development and do some real personal feedback and time with a department of 5 or 6 versus an elementary staff of 120. It does become challenging on an elementary level to provide the kind of personal instruction and professional development that they need for such a giant adoption. These guys are pretty good. They do math all day.
I was gonna say, the numbers are really in our favor to, high school, middle school adoption opposed to, like Jerry said, 100 elementary teachers. So, but I think it's good to be accurate, intentional. Actually, I will guarantee the smoothest math professional development will write it down.
I promise that I won't leave everybody in July high and dry with no professional development. I really like all of them and have a special affinity for the high school as well. And I don't want to, lose friends or professional credibility by being like, sorry, I was not there in July. You guys are on your own.
This is not a challenge, as
No.
long as everybody's proactive.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
when you leave it to August, then it's what it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good to get like a summary of like stakeholder engagement and like just understand like, do you guys feel comfortable and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And to me, then it's like, great, let's move ahead with it, but.
Yeah. Yeah, and I totally understand that concern that you have. I think we had teachers, because we have 5 in our department and not everybody teaches every single class. So like I'm not able to pilot both of them, but I had a lot of experience with EdGen, and then I had a team doing their in the big ideas and everything. So trusting their feedback too. I know that we're not going into this like blind and have no idea how to use it, which is good. So we have that experience, we feel confident, and we'll just take it from there. Like if we have questions, we reach out and hopefully get those questions answered, and we can reach out for trainings if we need to. We're ready for that. We talked about that.
One last thought on this. I don't believe we had any students on the curriculum committee. And I think we should think about the future, when we put other things together, always making sure we have student representation, at least at the high school level. Without, not as much as the other levels, but student input would be that. Be what they think, especially since our young people, they do differently than we do.
Yeah.
They're so involved in their digital world, they.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Would you be suggesting a student that's taking those courses or a student that is going to take? Because there's a different perspective, I think, on that.
Absolutely. But right now, we don't even solicit. Right. And I think maybe we should.
Actually, with our elementary one, last year we had some teachers in different pockets and grade levels, and they would present a couple of lessons of a couple of those different pilots. And I have a file in my office where third, fourth, and fifth graders. And then I went to the middle school with the math samples as well. I went to each middle school math class and also did that. We did not do that at the high school, and we probably should have, but yes.
And by the board at the June meeting, IIAAR is planned.
Thank
So
you.
we could put that in. IIA-AR. It's really sad when you have the policies memorized.
Yeah. That's our instructional, that's the one that we've talked about the last couple of times.
There is a sample motion on this one, I believe, though, so that we can move forward with.
Yeah, I believe I'm hoping I did.
Anybody have a motion? Sure, Madam Chair, I move to approve the adoption of Ed Jim, the big ideas for curriculum of Cook County High School. Thank you.
Second.
Right, okay, we have a motion to go ahead and approve the adoption of Ed Gems and Big Ideas for the curriculum at the Crook County High School. I have a second. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Kelsey? Yes. Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And yes as well. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Because that's the end of a 5-year term.
Yeah, we've looked at a lot of math curriculum.
Or be guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, moving to 7.0 policy updates. We have Mr. Jay Weeks for quite a while.
As J Weeks comes up, I just want to emphasize, we are returning to kind of a regular operational model. We're doing policies at regular board meetings. I know we got 9 policies ahead of us, all second readings, but this allows us to not have separate policy work sessions, which, as you can imagine, scheduling policy work sessions through the summertime gets tricky with the soccer practices and swimming and all the above. So thank you, board, as you tap into your board meeting stamina to power through a few policies.
All right, with that, there are 9 policies on the agenda. I have 7 of them for you here this evening. First couple in here, all of them, like Joel said, are second read. The first few, remember last time I was here on April 28th, we talked about the differences when a policy starts with G and a policy starts with J, G being the staff, J being the students. Those first couple are identical to the student ones that came before you on February 24th, 2025. They are just flipped to the staff now with the revisions that you made to those. So those first 3, the JB and AA, the GB and AB, and the JB and ABAR are identical to the J ones that we brought forward in February.
Those are everything. So
Correct.
those are these are the ones that we didn't approve, but we were missing spot.
You didn't have enough.
Well, it was first reading, so I needed to get it. Throwing you under the bus.
All right, thanks, Boston. Well, I move to adopt. Do I have to read them all in the record? I just said.
Yeah.
GBNAAJHFF, GBNABJHFE, GBNABJHFEAR, GBCBDA, GCBDA, GCBDAGBDDAAR, GCBDCBDBDC, GCBDCGDBCDAR. Like my items. Adopt them.
Like one more time.
Read it all of them. Don't say repeat the motion.
I did not.
Don't you dare.
I did not. Okay, we have a second. I'll second. Okay, so we have a motion on the table to adopt the previously mentioned policies And a second. Do we have further discussion?
I do.
I do as well.
You said first. I did reach out to a student and, or a teacher in Newman rep that just go over these as well. Just want to be clear, their recommendation is to really go over these with district and staff. Especially regarding the leave and reporting of abuse versus and sexual harassment. Just because there's some significant changes, especially as far as how you report things.
Is that on which one?
That's for, I don't know the letters.
You can
You
go
can start calling out.
7.1, you can go 7.2.
It's just a general statement. It's not an amendment thing. But if we're talking amendments, I do. I was just doing that as the general to begin with. For policy JEA-A.
Well, that's not where.
Oh, there were so many letters.
We're only in the G. We'll get to those.
We're,
We're not
okay,
gonna do those two here.
okay, then disregard. I'm done.
Wait on this one.
Mine was on the bias again.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that to me, there's something about, I can't put my finger on it, but I don't like it. It's because I read the ORS that you sent.
Mhm.
And in that, it's, if you're a victim of bias, call the hate crime. I mean, it kind of circles on itself, and what is the purpose of?
Yeah. So we're gonna jump ahead here. So the one you're talking about, Steve, is down in,
7.6 and 7.7.
yep. So those in 7.6 and 7.7, there is an additional ORS that I'm pulling in here, 659A.272. That's in addition to the ones in there. And what it talks about is the specific safe leave that was put in and what has to be under safe leave. And there are three different pieces that talk about safe leave within that have bias within. And so the first one says, when taking safe leave, an employer is required to provide leave or the safe leave under paid leave Oregon to seek legal or law enforcement assistance or remedies to ensure the health and safety of the employee or the employee's minor child or dependent, including preparing for or participating in protective order proceedings or other civil or criminal legal proceedings related to domestic violence, harassment, sexual assault, bias, or stalking. So if it falls within that, we're required to be able to provide safe leave, bias being one of those.
My whole question is the definition of bias.
Yeah, and then the definition of bias. So when the other pieces that were down below, when a bias incident or a bias crime, that's where in ORS like 147380 talks about a bias incident means a person's hostile expression of animus towards another person relating to the other person's perceived race, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, or national origin, of which criminal investigation or prosecution is impossible or inappropriate. Bias incident does not include any incident in which probable cause of the commission of a crime is established by investigating law enforcement officer. So that's essentially the laws are talking about bias and safe leave, which is why it came into why OSBA put it into that recommended title.
It's changing the name of the hate crime.
Yeah.
Because that's what it feels like, but
Mhm.
then again, they changed the name of, put in bias. Further down on that ORS, it says, if you feel like you've been a victim of bias, call the hate crime hotline. It just, it seems to me that it's just talking in circles. But if they just wanted to change the name, and say that something about this doesn't sit well, yeah, I don't know why, but it's. Because all the definition of bias, I think there was also something in there that said that, again, it was left open to interpretation, that there was something in the definition of bias that was kind of just a blanket statement of was, look, it could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. So then who gets to define that? Be able to put that in. It just seems very, very open ended. I can't rewrite an ORS, but.
But the board does control what they want to put within the policy in terms of terms.
Why is it requirement for this? Is it a strongly recommended to say that suggested is that?
So I was looking over, I believe these were strongly recommended for that, so I do believe The board could choose to use the language it wants to use, but in terms of the district, we are required, if an employee came forward with that,
Sure.
to do safe leave.
And we would only use the legal definition as defined in the ORS.
Well, I don't know, but the legal definition sits there and
Yeah.
turns on
Yeah.
itself.
This looks like it came from Senate Bill 1515. It's interesting because the policy's around leave versus bias, but bias is rolled in because we have to grant leave for
Yeah,
bias.
I get that. It's just, again, but it also goes back to who gets to define that.
Yeah.
Defines bias.
Well, yeah, because it's a defined bias by this, but somebody's defining this over here or some of that defined.
Yeah, in a case of this with a paid leave Oregon, so we contract through American Fidelity, a third party. That also helps determine the eligibility based on the Oregon law. So they would also be determining eligibility of would it be a bias or not for safe leave, because that's going to fall within paid leave Oregon or PLO, or you'll also see PFMLI in the terms. So we contract with them. We chose to go with them over the employment department. If we would have gone employment department, it would have been them that made the determination of whether it would have go or not, because it's under that with paid leave Oregon. Either American Fidelity Employment Department, Standard Insurance, whoever the employer goes with would make that determination of bias, actually, of whether it fits.
So what are your wishes on this? Do you want to grumble about it? Do you want to vote against it, or do you want to?
I guess I was just looking more for some more clarification. I just can't put my finger
Because
on.
we could divide, I mean, we can divide the motion. I can make an amendment to divide the motion, which would give you the opportunity to vote against it. Or we could pull it out altogether and rewrite it. That's where you want to go.
If you were looking to get bias out of it, who would be affected too?
Again, it's a rename. Best I understood, it was a rename of a hate crime. That's how I took it. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Well, let's try this.
Because no matter how the policy is written, it's still gonna go back to the legal definition that we don't get to control, is the way I'm understanding it.
Well, at that point, yes.
Yeah, it's going to go back to the ORS. And if an employee applies for leave based upon a bias incident, it'll then get determined by that third party, whether it's employment department, American Fidelity, Standard, whoever
Basically.
the
we
district
have no
goes to.
Is.
Again, I'm not different against the giving the leave. It's just the undefined definition that is hanging in there now. So above the function.
Yeah. And the definitions, what we have to go off is what are in those ORSs.
Which again is, yeah, we can't.
It's the loop.
I
Yeah.
get that. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold your nose and vote. Just hold your nose and vote.
Probably, again, there's nothing you can do about it, so.
Should be named the Steve policy.
Okay, so we have a motion in a second and we've had discussion. Do you have further discussion? Not now. Okay, are we ready to vote? All right, Kelsey?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And yes as well.
Right.
You got a
Thank you.
really fantabulous right there.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, chatting about attendance again. So, policy JEA. This one, the updates are mostly around the discussion you all had last time about the age. So, in the first paragraph, it cites 6 to 18. And then the second paragraph, there's some language around 5-year-olds. The suggestion here would be to just, say any child enrolled in public school. And then the other update is around cleaning up that sentence with the ESD and the notification for students who are homeschooling. And then most of this policy is just really about, parent choice and their enrollment with their student. Any questions or, well, I guess that's you guys. That's what I have to give you on that one.
This was the one I had stuff on.
Yes.
Okay.
This one's AR.
He said just change.
Both, is it?
Oh, I had
It is this one.
JEAR.
Yeah, this is the.
Okay,
JEAAR, right. So
we're on JEA.
we can work on it together.
We can do, yeah. The AR, I have a little bit more to speak on.
Excited. Never mind. Do it, do it. Take it to the end. Does anybody have anything on the first one?
I don't.
The time is now.
Okay, time is now. The JEAAR.
Yeah,
Okay.
so now JEAR, this one, that first paragraph there where it talks about the days of absences, the 8 unexcused, this drives me a little bit crazy because when we talk about regular attender rates, we're looking at those students who, as I said before, are not chronically absent, missing 10% of the school year, and that's about 13.5 days. So you read this and you say, wait a minute, this doesn't match. However, what this is talking about here is students who are irregular attenders. That's a separate definition that's defined in an ORS. And this is looking more specifically at those students with truant behavior that we should be highly concerned about as skipping school. A student can be chronically absent and just have gone on 2 vacations with their family in a year. This is more looking at those students who are chronically missing school with unexcused absences that we should be diving into providing interventions. And then most of the policy language here is the recommended from OSBA, but some of the wording is just a little bit different than the common language we use. So like the conferences, those are those mandatory attendance meetings. The notifications, those are the letters and the phone calls. When you dig deeper into this policy, you really see that it is our practice. And it just uses some nuanced language that I'm happy to discuss. It even mentions the, contracts with those mandatory meetings. Those are those attendance plans, academic plans that we're coordinating with students that are pretty successful in turning their behaviors around. So.
Is there any reason why we couldn't make the language match between what's in the policy and what's actually used?
So I think that because my understanding, and Joel, I'll lean on you with this, is because this regular attendance, but the way they describe it is more irregular attendance, is cited in the ORS. I believe we would be wise to match that because it's targeted more at those students who are really kind of maybe skipping school, or we're not sure why they're not attending school. So that's why I was hesitant to suggest a change there to match the chronic absenteeism.
I just think, and I'm not disagreeing with that feedback, and I think it creates confusion or like kind of gap when we're using 2 different sets of definitions. And I just have concerns about that, and if it's not mandated that we use that other vocabulary, I don't see a reason why, because it's like, you have somebody start new in your school, and you want to be able to give them this.
It's interesting that because both of these different definitions come from the state of the legislature. So I think you nailed it, where it is confusing where the state has defined these 2 different ways to measure irregular attendance, chronic absenteeism, regular attendance. So I credit to our staff for doing a great job working within the state's legislative confusion to come up with a system that actually meets the needs of kids. But to your point, it is confusing that the state has 2 separate definitions that are both from the legislature and the ODE.
Yeah.
So it is not the first nor the last time the state will give us some very different definitions of things.
My main concern is, and this is up for your guys' discernment, is would an employee of the school be able to read this and understand how to implement it?
I believe so. I mean, I think that it, like I said, I think it supports our practice as well.
I was chomping at the bit, you stole all my thunder.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Eric might have something to say.
No, that she covered the majority of it. The rest of it's just ticky-tack, and stuff.
But are you wanting to like? back
No,
me up?
I was trying to figure out how to align that regular, irregular, and then what you had earlier on the presentation about the 10 days uninterrupted and all that. You're basically hashing it out over there.
I think this policy, lots of problems, to the point I won't vote for it tonight. So, to the AR. Who is the attendance supervisor? There's no definition. So who is that person? And then that first paragraph, this person, well, apparently just having nothing better to do, sit around determining children's status. What triggers that happening? It doesn't say what does that. And then all the little letters to the side are struck out. So they're no longer part of the policy. So I guess we're just gonna jumble all these words together. Nobody can read this policy when we're done with it.
Is it mandatory that we have certified mail sent as well in these instances that the state things? Okay.
We can do that. I mean, from what I'm hearing, I think it does make a lot of sense to match. It's almost why you would need a PhD in attendance. The state sorting through the jumble, and I think that's the right word, Mr. Huber, the jumble that the state has created around attendance with their varying definitions of 10-day drops, regular attendance, chronic absenteeism. It would, I think, be a good idea for us to see how, while staying true to the what we are required to do by state law, to make it match true practice as possible, so that not only staff, but I think parents as well can look at these policies. So I heard JEA might be all right, but JEAR we can take back and cook on and bring back one that matches some more of our practice.
Yes, and then I think before I would feel comfortable voting on it, I want to know that the staff understands this and that their perception of this is accurate as well.
Supervisor. Who is the attendance supervisor?
That would be me at the high school, that's administrators.
Each school has a
Yeah.
attendance. It's typically assistant principals, the Steensville, it's, our dean of students. And the attendance supervisor meets monthly as a district.
Yeah.
Somewhere?
But if you don't define it though, then the cafeteria attendant can stand up and say, I am the attendance supervisor.
That
And
might
it's just as valid.
It's the last policy work session. So yeah, we definitely can bring this up to that one back.
And I think that's to your point, Phil, which is a good one. The ARs don't belong to OSBA, they don't belong to the ODE, they don't belong to anybody. They belong to us. They're the administrative mechanism for implementing the policy. So the administration should be able to write a coherent set.
Okay. Do my best.
Eric, did you, I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I might as well.
Yes.
Let's just move on to the 2-3 then. This is gonna really go out with the winter here.
Okay.
Very, very top, native, he changed that to home, to match the rest of the document.
Yes.
Changed it. And then right below that, letter A, that sentence is wonderful. So I was wondering if we could change it to, the student is required to regularly attend school full-time. Swap those words.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was something else, but I'm good for that. We're just gonna hold that and I'll. With it.
Oh, it's good to know that you guys are wanting this to be much more overhauled. That is very clear, so thank you. We're happy to do that, absolutely.
On JEA or JEA?
Is there any way we can, our discussion earlier about the truancy court, is there any way we can meld some of our desires into this policy as well? Or is this something that is mandated by the state we absolutely cannot do? Is there some kind of program that you could get into the policy where it would enable you to use that tool?
We need the judges.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
To
judges
to run the court. We unfortunately love to dictate what judges can do. We can't. But we are partnering with the juvenile department, at least at the high school and middle school level, but let's maybe kind of click on that a little bit and bring back something to see if there is some language that if it is ever open for us to pursue, that we always will pursue it, because we have seen it be highly effective with a broad spectrum of students.
That would be something I'd want to see.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, judges don't agree.
Which is good for approval of JEA.
I don't think so. I think they're both, are they both coming up? JEA and JEA.
It's just a sub, right? They should just do J come in together.
You want to do the other and the other at a later date.
Yes. Okay, do we have anything else for brief?
Sounds like I'll be back with this one. Yeah.
Okay, 8.0 upcoming dates. You want to read these? 8.1, we have no school Memorial Day, May 26th. We have the senior bachelorette ceremony, June 2nd at 6:30 at the high school. We have senior award ceremony, June 3rd at 6:30 at the high school. Senior trip, June 4th. The location is Canida. Senior breakfast, June 5th, will be at the Kirk Family High School at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Graduation parade, June 6th at 3 p.m. Senior graduation ceremony is June 6th at 6:30 at the Kirk Family Fairgrounds. School board meeting, June 9th, 6:30 p.m. at the district office. It's gonna be this week. Last day of school, K through 11 is half day, that's June 12th, and end of year staff celebration is June 13th. 9.0, public comments. I'm gonna just ask, do we have any public comments? See any? And we're gonna look at Eric.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that said, do I need to read our blurb or can we be online, please? I don't think I need to read our blurb.
We don't have any.
Okay, so it is 9:06. Thank you all for coming. We're adjourning.